Quick. Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to council. It is the 38th meeting of the 143rd Council of the Corporation of the City of St. Thomas. Welcome all here, and a full gallery, it seems. Let's ask first, are there any disclosures of interest from any of the members of council on tonight's agenda? Seeing none, we'll go to minutes.
I have a motion that the minutes of the meetings held on October 10th, 2023 be confirmed. Moved by Councillor Herbert, seconded by Councillor Peters.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor? Any opposed? Carried.
Next order of business are deputations. We have one deputation with us this evening relating to Hospice of Elgin. I have two named representatives, Robert Furneaux and Laura Sherwood, who will be making a PowerPoint presentation to the members of council.
Perfect. Did we tell you how all the buttons work? Okay. Okay, your assistant was very good at that.
Yes, he gets a A+.
All right, please go ahead.
Great, thank you. Good afternoon, members of council, Mayor Preston. Thank you for allowing Hospice of Elgin to come and provide an exciting update to you this evening. My name is Laura Sherwood. I'm the Interim Executive Director for Hospice of Elgin. And I think you've already met my lovely assistant, Vice President of our Hospice of Elgin board, Robert Furneaux. And this evening, we look forward to not only providing you an update on where we're going in the project and what we've been doing behind the scenes. So it should be an exciting update this evening. And just one moment while I advance my slides here. Perfect. There we go. We're just playing a little screen catch up there. Well, I think you can see we're building it as we go. Hospice and our slides today. First of all, I think the most important thing is just taking an opportunity to thank this council. We started this journey back in 2021 together. Yeah. And through the generosity of this council, we were able to start the planning and design for our Hospice of Elgin. This incredible piece of land has allowed us to start thinking about how we anchor a wonderful site and space for all of the care and support needs for end of life and for supporting the families on that journey. And so as you can see, our design work has begun. We are absolutely honored that Hospice of Elgin will have a cottage-like design that is tucked in the woods. You can see the incredible anchoring of wood and stone that really provide confidence for families and individuals coming in to receive care at Hospice of Elgin. Our hospice cottage-like design, of which we will be unveiling to the community in greater detail this November, will highlight the importance of what cottages represent for so many families. A place of gathering for families and friends, a place that is a little bit slower, allows for connection to nature. It allows us to honor and celebrate traditions, both old and new. And so this special design for our hospice here in Elgin County will be quite unique. And we look forward to showcasing some of those unique design features this November to our community. But you can see the design work has already well underway. One of the pieces I just wanted to highlight in our design work is that building a brand new hospice affords us the opportunity to think differently and ensure that the needs of this community are met. The hospice design will not only include those cottage-like and unique design elements, but its place will be that of providing outstanding care to individuals and families in this community. The one section on your right, there's actually 4 zones to this hospice. The residence is the traditional bed space where individuals and families can come in and receive that 24/7 care. In addition to that zone on the right, there is also 3 other zones that are critical to our design. The pink zone, which is on the bottom left, is our palliative care hub. This is unique to Hospice of Elgin and will be the place where the majority of care will take place at hospice. 400 individuals are expected to receive care out of the community palliative care hub. This includes everything from a palliative care clinic to respite beds to grief and bereavement programs and support to support for caregivers who are going through that journey. The goal of this space is to help individuals receive and stay in their home. Hospice is no longer a place where you go and die, but a place where you go and receive outstanding care. But when that journey gets a bit tough, having a space for people to come in and receive that care in our residence is an important part of Hospice of Elgin. Of course, additional spaces will include space for our care team and staff that walk that journey to support individuals at end of life. And the center of hospice will be a place of celebration and life. We call it our green section, but it is just filled with those spaces that remind us of home. So the kitchens, dining rooms, all of those things that really are familiar places for more life moments at end of life. So as our design starts to come to an end, we are starting to get ready for construction. Construction is now on the horizon for our project. And with that clarity of construction, we now have greater certainty in the cost to be able to advance the project. We started this journey and we are now at $17 million is what the rising cost of both the construction, market conditions, and also coming through COVID has resulted in. However, we are not deterred because our community has responded in significant and remarkable ways. We are currently at 75% of our $17 million goal. We are humbled by that incredible support of our community. This project matters greatly to the people of our community. And so with construction on the horizon, with our new, the goal behind us or in front of us actually is to close that gap on the remaining 25%. That 25% is about getting us into that, getting that shovel into the ground before the end of the year with a 12 to 14 month build cycle. We will open doors to Hospice of Elgin within the next year and a half. This is exciting times for our community, and I look forward to having Robert Furneaux provide a bit more details on our project.
Startaku will let me know. Good evening, Mayor Preston and members of council. I'm honored to be here with Laura to speak on behalf of a very passionate group of volunteers, staff, community leaders, fellow stakeholders, and remarkably generous donors. I'm Robert Furneaux, a member of our campaign team and serve as vice president of our hospice board. For transparency, I am board president of the EDC and vice chair of the STAG board as well. I've also served many years with the Chamber of Commerce, among other community organizations. And I recently retired as the vice president managing director of Gorman-Rupp Canada, based here in St. Thomas for quite a number of years. So it's from a very broad perspective that I wish to share a few brief words. This past Saturday was World Hospice and Palliative Care Day. Sadly, we live in a world where only 14% of people at end of life receive the care they need. So on behalf of those involved in hospice and palliative care, I wish to extend our heartfelt thanks. Progress is the doors we open. St. Thomas has a history of looking after its citizens and in many ways stands as an example for other communities to follow. Are there critical gaps? Yes. We'd like to introduce you to Ellie and members of her family, her daughter Sabrina on the left and Christina on the right. In front is Ellie's granddaughter, Isabella. Ellie was a St. Thomas resident who had to leave our community to die. Sabina and Christina endured numerous 45-minute drives back and forth to Woodstock to be with and to say goodbye to their mom. As a community, we must do better and with urgency. There's strong and sound reasons and benefits for this urgency. Further delays in our progress will continue to have a tremendous impact on the families in this community and those we could and need to serve. Shovels in the ground anchor our cost and bring an end to the need for our community to send our loved ones outside St. Thomas Elgin, especially at a time when they're most vulnerable and their time is precious. Most of us have a story of loss to share, be it a grandparent, a parent, a partner, a sibling, or a friend. Eventually, we all will. The need for hospice has never been greater, neither have the stakes in making this build happen now. Once operational, our 500 people in our community will benefit each and every year, so the impact and value of our undertaking stretches well beyond that primary mission. Consider the additional benefits: the recruitment of more physicians, new specialized care within our community, alleviation of some of the tremendous pressures on existing primary care providers, especially our overburdened hospital. That's just to highlight a few. I've also come to learn that hospice means different things to many people. Throughout our community engagements, the public, through their personal experiences, have been very vocal about what they need in a resource and what support services have been lacking. The gap goes well beyond beds. We've listened carefully and centered our hospice design around those expectations. Beyond healthcare, this new asset will add long-term value to our growing city. We're committed to being respectful stewards of the remarkable gift of property the city has so graciously provided. In keeping with this trust, there will be spaces at and within hospice for a variety of community uses and activities. Hospice has been purposely designed to be inclusive. Through careful design, we will highlight and improve the trail system connecting our community to Waterworks Park. Hundreds of volunteer opportunities will be created for individuals to contribute their time and talents in meaningful ways. This project will increase the availability of mental health services, lessening the burden, mental anguish, and isolation of those experiencing loss. As Laura shared, reducing isolation and creating meaningful opportunities for connection are important, especially for those who may be new to our community. Hospice welcomes all faith and all walks of life. Hospice of Elgin will become yet another part of our identity and success as a compassionate centered community and complements many of the other human care assets the city has already developed and invested in. From a commerce perspective, numerous local businesses will be initial construction and/or ongoing vendors to hospice. We could debate who should shoulder the burden of healthcare and related services. In reality, we all do. At a community level, it becomes very personal because it's here we lean on each other most. Given the unprecedented events of the past 3 years, it may be mutual to say that we've all been navigating uncharted waters. The pandemic has not been kind in time or cost to anyone, especially those undertaking a capital project. The numbers of individuals and families we could have helped and support over those years is deeply concerning. It's tragic, in fact. Assurance, evidence, and urgency are words we often hear from donors and the community, and these are commitments to be fulfilled and honored on our part. The citizens of this community never underestimate what we can do. Their voice has been clear and backed by their financial support. The public came behind a concept, dug deep without hesitation, and currently represents 62% of our campaign pledges. For a community our size, this is overwhelming support for hospice. On behalf of this community, we ask members of council to consider a final investment of $550,000 over a multi-year pledge. This financial support will help move hospice from design to physical reality. It's evident that hospice matters greatly to the businesses and families in our community. They've stepped up early and strongly. As you're aware, Doug Terry Limited made an incredible contribution of $500,000. And more recently, the Urick family gifted $250,000 in honor of their parents, Ed and Mary. And there are so many other remarkable contributions to be announced and recognized in the months to come. Our community is growing, so are its pressures. The answer to every opportunity should be yes. However, we recognize our city has many financial challenges and priorities, and respect that council has a duty and a responsibility to taxpayers. There are no gifts, and each consideration must be a wise and prudent investment with tangible dividends paid towards the broader good. We strongly believe this is one of them. There's a never-ending stream of need-driven projects to fund, and while there are some government-based support, the lion's share remains local and public. We believe our team and donors have accomplished much of this heavy lifting prior to coming to you this evening. We entered this journey together, as Laura said, as partners. The city graciously provided our foundation in the truest sense of that word. We'll soon be entering the public phase of our campaign, and council's support for this grant will further ensure our ability to engage GCs and move forward towards doors open. Behind me tonight, Laura and I are honored to be joined by some members of our board and our hospice committees and some of our staff. They are also here to express their deepest gratitude to this council. We wish to thank the members before us. Your leadership continues to engage and benefit our community in significant ways. We have much to be proud of. With your kind support of this grant, we will open new doors. Doors for many people in this community together. On behalf of our entire hospice team, thank you for listening and for this consideration.
Thank you, Mr. Furneaux. That seems really strange, me calling you that. So thank you, Robert. It's great to have such a illustrious group here with us tonight. I'll ask if any members of council have any quick questions. Councillor Herbert, why don't they just look that way first?
You should, yes.
Yeah.
Thank you. Well, thanks for the presentation tonight. And I don't think there's any question. Personally, I support it, but I just wanted to address Laura on her opening comments where she wanted to thank council for all the support we're giving. I look at it in a different way. I want to thank you, your group, the hard work you've done in getting a hospice come to St. Thomas. And I think of the last 3 or 4 years on council, we're getting MRI now through your groups and hospice now. We've opened up the Inwell House for homeless. The things that are happening in the city, I mean, like Robert said, they're growing. We need to grow with it with our services. So I think that's just great. So I thank everyone here for all the hard work you've done on it. So I really thank you. I thank you for that. So thank you.
Councillor Peters?
Thanks, your worship. Thanks very much for the presentation as well, too. And I trust that we're going to be dealing, this will be likely referred to budget and it'll be part of those deliberations. I just want to ask the question, though. I know you don't have the crystal ball, but are you going to be back? No, and I mean that not so much on the capital side of things, but you know, and Robert made reference to the creep that is taking place of municipalities playing a larger role in healthcare. Are you going to be back at some point saying we need help in operating this facility?
I'm going to just turn, oh, there we go. So the question is, we will definitely be back to ask you for, or thank you, quite frankly, for your support. But there is a strong plan in place. When we entered into the business plan to establish a hospice, that also came with building a sustainability fund. That was a commitment we made as a responsible part of advancing a project in this community. That sustainability plan is to ensure that we have a solid 5 years of footing to be able to get doors open, build our fundraising plan, and operate for many years to come. And so this is our responsibility to this council, to our donors, to all of the partners that are around the table. And we're also very thankful for St. Joseph's Healthcare Society and the family of organizations who we will lean on as we move into operations and identify not only within St. Joseph's, but within other local health organizations, opportunities for efficiencies. So we have experience in raising the funds on an annual basis. We have a sustainability plan in place, and we'll continue to look at ways to be as efficient as possible with the donor dollars and investments that have been made in the project. And so that's our I would say, our plan for the future.
Great, thanks. Albeit I live in St. Thomas, I read the Elmer Express weekly, and you did a great job in an interview in the Elmer Express. Could you just enlighten the people at home about what you're going to be asking of the County of Elgin as well too, please?
Oh, thank you. So, our municipal partners are critical to the advancement of getting this shovel in the ground. And so we have spoken with County Council and gone through a similar process through a deputation and have moved forward with request of 1.2 million into their budget planning process. So that currently is under review with County Council as well.
Thank you. Seeing no other questions, I'm going to say thank you. Thank you for coming. Thank you for all you've done. I see some faces in the audience, and I know that Jeff and I have sat at many a table at many a hospice event trying over the last couple of decades. So I love that we're this close. I can see the end. It's fantastic. Thank you for what you're doing. As Councillor Peters said, we will certainly look at this collectively in our strategic planning and our budgeting process. And I wish you well with all the rest you're out asking for too. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Worship. Thank you to members of the deputation. You are quite welcome to leave at any time. You don't need to stay for the entire meeting.
Where's the excitement? Come on.
At this time, council will resolve itself into committee of the whole to deal with the following business. First order of business, strategic direction and development. First item relates to notice of a public meeting to take place on October the 26th, 2023 from the Committee of Adjustment regarding an application for consent by CN Railway to sever a lot with an area of 2,839.99 square meters and a frontage of 8.6 meters on Station Street for future employment land purposes. I understand council had some questions at the previous meeting, so perhaps this would be a good time to bring them forward.
Mr. Pompili, good to have you here. We knew we were going to talk about this, so take your place and let us know what you know.
Yeah, no, thank you, Your Worship. And through you, no, I just wanted to flag this. Council is already aware. They raised it last week, and I said that I'd come back and give some background and hopefully get some direction from council. But yes, we did receive a severance application for about a 3/4 acre parcel of land that CN Rail that has been submitted on behalf of CN Rail within the city. It's located just north of the Tiny Hope site, between the tracks and the north end of that site. It's a very small portion, but it is that last sort of link that's not owned by the city, that's still owned by CN. And if this severance went through, it'd be in private ownership. So it, in essence, cut off that corridor. Like I said, it's intended to be transferred for private interest to be developed at a later date. The lands right now only permit employment type use, so would have to be subject to some sort of Planning Act approvals in the future to be redeveloped. When there was consultation for this application, we did raise some concerns with the representatives from CN there and the applicant that, that we felt there's a municipal interest in this and, requested some time to go back and have some discussions if there's anything formal. And then the applicants went away and but then the application was made. And we asked again if it could be delayed because we did uncover some other encumbrances for the property. But the main part is we think that there's a municipal interest. So I just wanted to flag this for council to get their opinions and views. This is an opportunity. This is the opportunity when the notice goes out. If council has any direction that they want to give staff to forward on to the Committee of Adjustment, this is the opportunity to do it. But I think it would be totally appropriate to get that direction from council that in the submission to the Committee of Adjustment regarding the application to advise that the City of St. Thomas has an interest in these lands for municipal purposes. I think that would be critical. And also that the Committee of Adjustment likely be requested to either defer or refuse consideration of the application until such time as the city's interest in this subject's land can be resolved with CN. So I just wanted to make that sort of presentation to council and seek their input.
Councillor Wookie?
I would certainly move what Lou has proposed. If we're there, we want to talk about it first, but once we move it, of course, we can talk about it.
Mover and seconder, a discussion on it. Councillor Peters?
Thanks, your worship. Some of the comments I made at the last meeting, but I support the city taking the position that we have an interest in this property. Not just an interest for us, but I think in the interest of a future north-south connection on the former London and Port Stanley Railway. I think we need to, part of our case needs to be that national transportation order that I sent a copy to you and to Sandra, because it's now the Canadian Transportation Authority, I believe. Right. But that order, I believe, still stands. And I don't know how CN can ignore that order, because if they were to sever this property, to me, they would be in contravention of that order. And I think that needs to be something that needs to be considered. I'll choose my words. The previous council looked at some lands of CN's and had this site been just specifically identified instead of a larger package, I think I would have looked at it much differently at the time. And I think that needs to be taken back to CN as well too. That if you were going to offer this for sale, the pecking order is federal government, provincial government, municipal government. And I did not see anything come in front of us specifically what is part of this. So I'll leave it at that. But I would, thanks for Councillor Wookie for moving this. I think we definitely need to take a position.
Councillor Herbert?
Thank you, Worship. So could I ask what our next steps are now? What's the process going to take place now? Do we just sit and wait, or do we be aggressive?
Well, as Mr. Pompilia said, Lou, I'll let you reiterate better than I might be able to. You suggested a couple of steps moving forward that the Councillor Wookie has suggested we ask you to do.
Yes, yep. Through you, your worship. Yep. Going forward, I'm going to continue down the path that I've been and our staff have been following, is to start to continue to get a dialogue with CN. We've had a little back and forth finally today in terms of just some telephone tag, but we'll continue down that path. But the next step will be the Committee of Adjustment meeting, and with this direction from council, that will be in our report in terms of the main part of our report and recommendation of our report. If the committee is in line with that, then that dialogue with CN will continue with council's input. Then as the resolution reads, if the Committee of Adjustment were to ignore that and approve it, which I don't think that, but you're asking for what the next steps and alternatives would be, then council would be in a position to appeal the consent.
Councillor Herbert?
Just to follow up, is CN aware there is a process to follow? Federal, provincial, municipal? I hope they are.
Through your worship, that's what that's what my conversation, when I connect with them, is to have that sort of understanding. I believe they would understand that. But earlier, the counselor did mention that there was, and I'm going by recollection, that there may have been a larger parcel that was put up, offered to the municipality several years ago, that may or may not have included this site. But that came with a lot of encumbrances onto the city in terms of maintenance responsibility, improvements that the city wasn't prepared to enter into at that point. So that may be where why they're taking this direction at this point.
Let's see. Councillor Clark?
Thank you, worship. I'm still interested in what we're going to do about the outstanding Canadian transportation order. I'd like to see staff meet with our lawyers and follow that avenue and find out what's going on, because there's going to be lots of conversations with, I'm not sure CN, but I guess CP, but with all the development that's going to go on in town, I think now's the time to re-engage CN, even though it's a private company. The order's still there. We've been pretty patient 20 years later, and I think it's about time that we act on it. At least find out what the cost would be
I think
for
we
us to
should
move forward.
make it part of this, that's for sure.
Yeah.
So that this discussion takes place not on its own merit of just the land, but also of the CTA agreement that's in place. Councillor Wookie?
Thank you very much. If this doesn't go our way, I would love to hear our legal's opinion upon, like, do we play hardball and try to expropriate it? I'd like to get a lawyer's opinion on whether this doesn't go our way, whether that could happen. So I just want that people to be made aware of that would be my next question if this doesn't go our way. Because this is critical. Anyway, CN is a whole different deal. I think we need to play hardball with this one in a sense of do what we need to do to get this. This is very, very important to us. Thank you.
Thank you. So on the motion, all those in favor? Are there any opposed? It's carried. You know what we got to do? Next item.
Next two items are notices of public meeting from the Committee of Adjustment. The meetings will take place on the same date, October 26th at 10 a.m. The first one is regarding an application for consent by Eastwood Housing Corporation to create a 6-meter wide right-of-way for mutual access purposes over the property at 410 Wellington Street. The second one is regarding an application for consent by Doug Terry Limited to create a 3-meter wide right-of-way for mutual access purposes over the property at 220 Highview Avenue. Your worship.
Councillor Clark, on that issue?
Just a clarification, are they still doing, the Committee of Adjustment, are they still meeting by Zoom, or are they meeting in a chamber
I don't know the
room?
answer. Go ahead, Madam Clerk.
Your worship, I believe they're trying for the 26th to do a hybrid meeting. They had been meeting by Zoom until this point in time. I believe they may be doing a hybrid meeting for the 26th.
Next item.
Unless there are any further items from the members for this committee, we'll now move into community engagement and services. First item relates to the 2023 tree lighting ceremony celebration and light up Talbot Street. I have a motion that report ES 5923 relating to the 2023 tree lighting celebration and light up Talbot Street be received for information, and further the council approve the temporary closing of Mondayman Street from Curtis Street to Talbot Street, and Talbot Street from Elgin Street to the west side of St. Catherine Street, and from the east side of St. Catherine Street to John Street on Friday, November the 17th, 2023, between the hours of 5 p.m. and 10 p.m. to allow for the tree lighting celebration. Moved by Councillor McCauley, seconded by Councillor Gibson.
Questions or comments? Councillor Gibson?
I would just like to say thank you to the Downtown Development Board. We've got another fantastic event happening downtown and it's really great to see. Thank you.
Further questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? Carried.
Unless there are any further items from the members for this committee?
Counselor Gibson?
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship. Just one note. I just want to let the public know that the Municipal Accessory Advisory Committee and the Elgin County and Central Elgin County Advisory Committees would, a big thanks to everyone that came out to our event on on Thursday, September 28th. It was a well-attended open house for everyone to come in and give the opportunity to learn about accessibility needs and the services that are supported services available in our St. Thomas and London area for those who are requiring help. I had the pleasure of introducing David Leposki, Chair of the AODA, and from Dorchester Dreams Come True Music Studios. Did a great performance of all ages, young and old, and with all abilities, and they did songs from The Wizard of Oz. It was really awesome to listen to. So I also would like to take this opportunity to thank John Heinley and Sarah Savoy for their hard work, organization, and guidance to the boards that came together under Jack, which is the Joint Accessibility Advisory Committees, and for everyone's input in order to make the event very successful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Seeing no further items, Your Worship, we'll now move into infrastructure and civic operations. First item relates to Highbury Widening Environmental Study Report endorsement. I have a motion that report ID 0523 relating to the Highbury Widening Environmental Study Report endorsement be received for information, and further the council endorse the findings and results of the environmental study report. Excuse me. Moved by Councillor Herbert, second by Councillor Clark.
Questions or comments? Counselor Peters?
Thanks, Your Worship. Two questions, Justin. The first one is at the intersection of Ron McNeil and Highbury West Side Commercial. With the changes that are taking place, you and I had talked about this at a site visit a while back. Were you able to accommodate access and egress for that commercial operation?
Mr. Lawrence?
Through the mayor to the councillor, we haven't reached a final design on that. We're still flexible depending on the interest of that commercial development. We haven't talked to them in person yet, but that's a good reminder, as we probably should, push that issue forward until we get resolution. At this point, we could still go either way. We could either block it off with the median or possibly extend a left turn into that. So it's a northbound left, I think that the question is about. There is the alternative to go around the roundabout and make rights in and rights out, which is safer. But yeah, we should push that to resolution.
Further questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? Carried.
Unless there are any further items under infrastructure, we'll now move into corporate governance. No items on the agenda at this time, unless there are any items from the members.
Counselor Wookey?
Thank you very much, Your Worship. I want to take a few minutes tonight and talk about something. We have a fairly light agenda, so you might get a few minutes of my speaking here. I want to talk about policy regarding the funding of outside projects that in the end will not appear on our asset list on our consolidated balance sheet. And my premise to my argument is that ad hoc governance is poor governance. In other words, if we do not have policy-driven governance, then we're ad hoc and we're a little bit aimless. I go back to when I started on council in 2014, and when it came time to do community grants, it was a free-for-all and a very ugly free-for-all. And I don't blame my fellow councilors. We didn't have any rules. People would support the thing they wanted. And we spent so much time on that. It was painful. And the head of council at times said, well, we can do whatever we want to do. And I said, that's the problem. And we had a situation where nobody in the community really understood what the rules were because there weren't any, and we certainly didn't understand what they were. And so you get people saying, well, they got a grant, we didn't, why not? And we didn't have any way of saying what the case was. It was just simply, well, the majority of people said yes to it. All right, I'm going to take that now and apply it to what we're going through. And I'm not saying at all that I'm against giving money to an MRI or a hospice or Indwell or tiny homes or anything like that. It's just that we're in a situation now where we're being asked to fund outside projects and we have no policy to guide us. I'll give you an example of, now people may disagree with where I'm coming from this one, but as an example, it would be, okay, what percentage of the total amount of it are we being asked to fund? So perhaps part of the policy is that we will say we will not fund anything more than X% of the total project if we don't end up owning it in the end. Perhaps we limit what we're going to burden future councils with in terms of promising something down the road. I call that downloading, but we're downloading on ourselves. We're playing ourselves. And what we're doing, let's say we said yes to $250,000 a year 3 times. That's $750,000 a year. What if it's for 10 years? We have now just burdened some poor saps on a future council with a 1.5% tax increase before they even start the budget process. And if they go, and I suppose they could go back and say, forget it, we're not going to support this, but you know, that's a very difficult and nasty thing to do to something that you've, you know, kind of given your word to, a previous council has. There's what I want to say. I'm not going to ask for a report of staff. I'm not asking, this is not a notice of motion, but I'm hoping that we can have a rich conversation regarding this. And I was thinking about this, that we have many people on the leadership team that have experience at other municipalities. And I would love for the leadership team to have a discussion about this and maybe just say, hey, when I was in this place, here's what we did, because I have no idea what's going on, but I'm not asking for a report. But I just want to put this on the radar that I'll say again, and this is my finishing thing, that ad hoc governance is poor governance. And if we say yes, 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 and then the next group comes in and we say no, and they say, why didn't we get any money? Well, all we're left with is, well, sorry, a majority of councillors didn't say yes to it. Well, great. Thanks, Sherlock, for that answer. So there's where I'm at. That's all I want to say. And I'm hoping we can have a discussion, a rich discussion sometime down the road soon. Thank you.
Further items?
Council will now reconvene into regular session. I have a motion that the recommendations, directions, and actions of council in committee of the whole as recorded in the minutes of this date be confirmed, ratified, and adopted. Moved by Councillor Baldwin-Sands, seconded by Councillor McCauley.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? Carried.
No reports of committees this evening. We now move into petitions and communications. We have one petition on the agenda. A letter has been received from the chair of the St. Thomas Cemetery Company Board of Directors requesting a grant of $6,500 for the replacement of a lawnmower, and also noting an annual operating grant increase for the 2024 budget. I have a motion that the letter received from the chair of the St. Thomas Cemetery Board of Directors making that request for the replacement of a lawnmower be referred to the 2024 budget. Moved by Councillor Wookey, seconded by Councillor Kohler.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? Carried.
Unless there are any items under petitions and communications from the members, we'll now move into, sorry, Your Worship, there is an item.
Councillor Gibson?
Thank you, Your Worship. I'm going to keep you busy. Just a little update for the community. The Lord Elgin Branch Legion St. Thomas would like to invite the community, the council members, and city staff to the Memorial Gardens over on Moore Street for pinning the poppy on the mayor. And that'll be held on Thursday, October 26th at 11 a.m. Thank you.
All right. Councillor Herbert?
Thank you, Worship. Just wanted to thank the organizers of Oktoberfest for this last Saturday. It was wet, but it was fun. The tent was fun. The Railway City had a great supper there and they had a great band too. So I know it hurt the turnout, but there was a lot of hard work done. So just thank you to all the organizers.
Agreed. Any other new business? Councillor Baldwin Sands.
Thank you. It's been a very busy weekend for everyone. I would like to give a salute out to the Kettle Creek Conservation Authority and the City of St. Thomas. On Saturday, October the 14th at Waterworks Park, 40 volunteers from TD Friends of the Environment planted 300 trees.
Excellent.
And then at Lake Margaret, 150 trees and shrubs with, again, Kettle Creek Conservation Authority, the City of St. Thomas, and this time volunteers from Graham Scott Ends planted 150 trees and shrubs. So it was a very, very busy weekend for that. So I would like to thank again the volunteers for all of the work that they do and continue to do. And I look forward to making more announcements like that in the future. I would also like to point out the Islamic Center open house yesterday from 2 to 5. And it was an honor to attend that as well.
Good there. Yeah.
Thank you.
Other new business? Seeing none?
Your worship, if we're done with unfinished and new business, we'll now move into bylaws. I have a motion that leave be granted to bring in the bylaws. Moved by Councillor Clark. Seconded by Councillor Kohler.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor? Any opposed? Carried.
I have a motion by Councillor Clark, seconded by Councillor Kohler, that the bylaws be now read a first time, referred to council and committee of the whole, and read a second time.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? Carried.
First bylaw, please. Thank you.
First bylaw is a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the council meeting held on the 16th day of October, 2023.
Questions or comments? Seeing none? All those in favor? Carried. Second bylaw, please. Thank you.
Second and final bylaw is a bylaw to authorize the mayor and clerk to execute and affix the seal of corporation to a certain agreement between the city and Alexander Adam Kirschner. This relates to a grant acknowledgement agreement under the Community Improvement Program for the property at 50 Manitoba Street.
Questions or comments? Seeing none? All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Rise and report the successful passing of the two bylaws.
Good.
I have a motion by Councillor Clark, seconded by Councillor Kohler, that the report of council and committee of the whole on the two bylaws be received and adopted. The same be read a third time, engrossed, sealed by the mayor and clerk, signed by the mayor and clerk, sealed and numbered.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Are there any opposed? That's carried.
We'll now move into public notice. There's 3 notices this evening. The first is that administration intends to introduce a report and a bylaw at the November 6th, 2023 council meeting relating to the proposed 2024 sewage service rate fees and charges change. Second, at the same meeting, introducing a report and bylaw relating to the proposed 2024 water consumption rate, water supply fees and charges change. The third notice is that council will consider a bylaw to stop up and close a portion of Edgeware Line between Highbury Avenue and Yarmouth Center Road at its meeting on November the 6th, 2023. Your worship, no further items at this time. There is a need to move into closed session. I have a motion that this meeting be closed to deal with a proposed or pending acquisition of land, a matter of litigation or potential litigation, a matter of information explicitly supplied in confidence to the municipality by the province, and 3 matters of a position plan, procedure, criteria, or instruction to be applied to any negotiations carried on or to be carried on by or on behalf of the municipality. Moved by Councillor Gibson, second by Councillor Baldwin Sands.
If I can interrupt at this point, we'll vote on it in a second. We'll have a public meeting that starts at 6 o'clock. But we can move into closed session now and start that proceeding, then move out of that closed session into the public meeting at 6. And we'll go back into the closed if we're not finished. and then allow us to adjourn from the closed session. So for those of you watching at home or on Rogers, thank you for joining us this evening, and we'll be moving now into a closed session. Further discussion or comment? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried.